All right. Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of MasterClass. Um, just giving it a little bit of time here as there's usually a bit of delay with our stream. So, all right, we can get going. So today, happy Valentine's Day, everybody that's joining us live here. And I'm going to bring on a couple of guests here today on this special Valentine's episode that we have here. So let me go ahead and bring those individuals on from out of the green room. They've been eating snacks in the green room for a while. I've been waiting for her to go live. So first, I wanted to give a quick introduction to you guys, just make sure that everybody knows who you are and why I'm excited to have you on our episode 17 of Masterclass. We've been doing this well. I got great hairs, I think. So anyway, so first of all, we got Norma. She is the founding principal and CEO of Phoenix Consulting Group, and they provide education and consulting services with expertise in ecosystem go-to-market strategy, channel and alliance management, and have prominent clients of Amazon, Adobe, Cisco, Dell, Google, these small companies. And PayPal and SAP and Nationwide. Wow, it just keeps going on, Norma. Really good names you have there that you work with.
Been doing this a while, yeah.
Yeah, it took you a while, yeah. But specifically, both Nancy and Norma are co-authors of the Partners of Are the Customer Experience, which was tagged as the #1 new release in customer relations and organizational change on Amazon Kindle. So great experts that want to get a little piece of your brains and your thoughts on this topic that we're discussing today, which is the positioning partner ecosystems and what CXOs should know. So speaking of Nancy, she's the president and founder of Ridge Initiative and
Innovative.
What's that?
Ridge Innovative.
Innovative. I said initiative. Not the same thing.
Well, we're taking the initiative. That's a good thing.
The initiative of Ridge Innovative. All right.
There you go.
But yeah, is a committed ecosystem strategist. Again, that's the hot topic of ecosystems, and has led from all sides of the table. So her passion is delivering the best business outcomes to clients through technology, which is very pertinent to what we want to talk about. So, last week we were in sunny Miami, well, mostly sunny, we'll say, for ImpartnerCon, and this topic came up a lot. It's very relevant. A lot of companies are trying to make that transition to the traditional partnership model to more this ecosystem approach, which is a big cultural change. And so really interested to hear your thoughts on, one, how important the ecosystem is, why it's such a hot buzzword right now, and how folks can kind of work to make those first transition steps. So ladies, I'll turn it over to you. Let me turn on the slides for kind of our discussion points. There we go. And don't you love the hearts? Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah,
We love it.
We're bringing the love for ecosystems today.
That's right.
Right on. And who doesn't love $100 trillion?
That sounds pretty good.
It's not in my bank account, but I think this I think is a very important point, is that in the tech industry, we're talking about ecosystems, our own partner ecosystems, but this is much broader than just us. This is 100 trillion, 1/3 of the global economic output is going to be driven by ecosystem business models. So, and of course, the role that we have as technology providers is that these ecosystems are powered by technology. So we've got some great examples to talk about. Nancy, you want to talk about the Home Depot ecosystem?
Well, yes. And I just wanted to kind of tag on to a little bit of what you were saying a moment ago, Norma, and to tee this up a little bit and why I think it's so important. Because, last week you all were in sunny Miami, as Trevor mentioned, and that's an ecosystem in itself. Our group of people, our ecosystem of other experts that we all know and love. And I heard that there was a lot of really great buzz going on there, that it was very easy for everybody to stay focused on this particular topic. And yet we forget that this is a much bigger conversation than what's occurring, within those of us who talk about it every day. And one of the things that we keep hearing is from partnering executives, from whether they're carrying the title of ecosystem leader or maybe they're still in the channel chief role, is that they're continued to ask to explain to their CEOs, why do we need partners? And why is it so important to have partners as part of the equation, not just as a siloed part of the business, but literally matrixed in to the company and to the organization. And so I think it's really important to tee that up, that the conversation we want to have today with all of you is to, first of all, acknowledge that many of you are on the path with your companies, but it's still a change management issue for many companies to really embrace the concept and the reality of ecosystem. So I definitely want to start there. And Trevor, I know that there was, you had mentioned too, that there was some talk about channel teams being on the chopping block last week.
Yeah, it's been, as I go to partnership leaders events or in PartnerCon, it's come up as a topic, right? We're not going through a happy time in some areas. Tech, especially, is being hard hit by layoffs. And it seems that channel folks are often at risk. And the reason being with the tightening of budgets and whatnot, we've discussed how with the direct sales model, it's pretty predictable. So CEOs and executives know that if I put in X, I get out Y with the direct sales approach. Whereas, with the channel, it's more a blow a dandelion in the wind, and you know that seeds are growing and being planted, but having that direct correlation and that attribution is a little more difficult. And in fact, our COO, Brad Pace, had an ROI presentation where he talked to one executive who mentioned that, he asked the same set of 5 questions to first his CRO. Hey, how much money have we spent? How much have we gotten out? Direct things like that. And the CRO was right on top of it, had the numbers right off the top of his head. He asked his chief partner officer this, and I don't know, I can look that up for you, but it just wasn't top of mind. Maybe he could figure it out eventually, but it just wasn't an emphasis to know those numbers right off the bat to prove out the value.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We've got actual case example to show of kind of the with partner, without partner dynamic, and essentially how to show that impact.
You bet. Yeah, and this slide mentions the data comes from a McKinsey study, which we want to put the link to that in the chat. And it pointed out, how important the role of the executive sponsor is in having an effective transition from just a partner division to an entire organization becoming an ecosystem. And their analysis of failed ecosystem efforts showed that more than 80% of them were partially caused by governance issues. And it's really hard. And I've seen this happen in organizations, that I've worked for, where they're trying to develop an ecosystem, even when the CEO says, yes, I want to do this, within an existing organization, and developing it so close to that traditional model, like we were saying, where everything, Trevor, is easily measured, also puts a lot of pressure on the people who have been there to try to continue to run the business with the models the way they are, and at the same time reinvent the business. And yet, when the CEO tries to build the ecosystem model separately away from the core business, then it's disconnected, the people are disconnected, and that potential gets missed. So I do believe, and I know, Norma, you've seen this too with those companies that you've worked directly with, that it's still pretty obvious. I mean, you look at Amazon, Google, all the big capitalized companies on Wall Street, and they are investing heavily in ecosystem.
they're all ecosystem business models. You look at the biggest companies on the NASDAQ, and they've gone, and it's more than just bolted on, as you said. It has to be integrated into the very fabric of the organization. Something I learned when I was doing standards for collaborative business relationships and going back to the quality movement of 30, 40 years ago, is that quality isn't a QA guy at the end of the production line going yay or nay. It has to be built into the culture and the fabric, the operations, the planning of the organization. It has to be, threaded throughout. And as companies move to an ecosystem business model, the same is true. It's not bolted onto the side of the organization and run by people who are not, kind of, here's your turf. It has to be the way a company thinks. In fact, I think IBM came out with a quote in their business value, what do they call it? Value business, their CEO study that said that ecosystem isn't a strategy. It is the business strategy, that companies who aren't thinking ecosystems right now are going to be left behind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And so
I think that might be a good move to the next slide, which kind of shows the EY perspective of why ecosystems, or how the business impact of ecosystems and how they pay off. And EY thought in 2021 this was a key topic, important enough to make it the CEO executive or imperative of that year. And they interviewed 800 CEOs worldwide across all industries. And they're seeing these kind of business impacts across all of it, which, going back to our own technology world, we think there's even bigger impact on the ecosystem business model, because again, you look at the big players, Apple, Amazon, Google, they're ecosystems, and they have been for many years, and have built that model so that, they're really just powerhouses of how they've built the ecosystem platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what does your CEO need to know about partners and ecosystems? Well, the numbers, they love numbers. Let's show them these numbers, because it's not just a concept. It's now being borne out in hard data, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And I love that you always point out, look at the lower number.
Yeah, even poor performing ecosystems are delivering pretty significant results.
Right. I mean, just the lower end, those are numbers that anybody would love, right? So, I look at it as even the difference between being a low performing ecosystem versus the high is pretty significant gains if you're able to optimize, use the right tech stack, use the right processes, and get that cultural change really, really done. Because like you were saying, Norma, it is a big change, and our traditional way is a very direct sale focus of everybody's in their silo. You got the marketing, the sales, and then, to manage the partners, it's just a different department. They're doing their own thing, and they work with the sales team as needed. Whereas this ecosystem truly is an entire company has to buy in. And in fact, being able to hone that skill, Jay McBain last week at Impartner Cons argued that he sees the future CEOs of companies will come from the partnership space.
Right.
Will have that skill of getting all that collaboration company-wide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's been talking about that for a couple of years now, as we've seen the titles change. And, really we've watched that transition from, our traditional channel into the broader ecosystem, where, the people who are on this call are the innovators. They're the ones who have had to have that forward thinking idea as they look at the strategies and the frameworks that they need to be successful, understanding that it needs to cover every aspect of the organization. And one of the points that Norma and I always try to make in this conversation is success is not an accident. It comes about because the right investment strategy, culture, executive leadership who gets it, integrating partners into your go-to-market, which I know that you all talked a lot about the fact that go to market isn't just marketing. It's across the entire organization. And we know that companies who approach partnering in an ad hoc fashion, they fail, and they fail big. There's been a lot of studies that tell us that failure rate is between 50 and 70%. And yet organizations who approach partnering like a management discipline can achieve an 80 to 90% success rate. So the difference is adopting that partner ecosystem strategy, implementing those proven processes. In other words, including clear governance and building that collaborative competency throughout the organization. And that has to start at the top.
And I think that speaks to the skill sets required to manage these ecosystems and partnerships. So I think a lot of companies approach it ad hoc. It's like, oh, let's do a partnership or let's do an ecosystem without really understanding it is a discipline. It is a set of competencies and skill sets. And, I've done quite a bit of work in this. And, the things that the really great partner managers do are they're great leaders. They lead through influence. They work through stakeholders and getting their alignment, their buy-in, their commitment. They're able to work across the organization. In fact, they can work across the organization. They can work, manage upwards. They can speak an executive language, and they work with, other peers and people in the organization. So they're well suited to managing ecosystems because there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of stakeholders, and there's a lot of, one thing I think CEOs get a little nervous about partners is that they're not directly under your control. You have to influence, you have to get alignment in your common interests and a common outcome. And these are the things and skills that are useful, not just in managing partners and ecosystems, but internally to an organization to get alignment and focus on a strategy like an ecosystem business model.
Well, the rewards are there, right? These numbers are pretty compelling that you should be able to get that internal alignment saying, look at the reward. Should we be able to accomplish this, right? So at least you're operating at a position of strength there and being able to show that it's worth the effort and it's something that everybody should be able to buy into.
I saw a message in the chat asking about an example of a critical success factor for building thriving ecosystems. Mm-hmm. And, one of them, thank you, Impartner, for having us today, is building that partner management process through the life cycle. So, this is where I think the technology, I always like to say, that we succeed today, with the help of great technology. And this is where Impartner can play a big role. It may not be necessary for your CEO to understand each and every stage of the partner journey, but it is important for there to be a proven process and that you have a system in place that's very appealing, easy to use, and integrated for your partners, and that the organization can adopt and adapt, to how they build their partner relationships and how they manage those partner relationships. I believe an example of a critical success factor is mapping that out and building the tools to support it.
I just want to add, this is kind of a thematic in the book we wrote on partners are the customer experience. So I don't think you have to convince CEOs or CXOs anymore that the customer experience is paramount. That when you deliver a compelling customer experience, you're delivering on their customer success, on recognizing better business outcomes, you're investing in growth, resilience, retention. And what we've been able to show in our research with the partner experience is that this is all tightly connected. To the extent you deliver that compelling partner experience, you're enabling partners to deliver customer experience, because so many of us, and particularly in the channels, the partner is between you and the customer. They are delivering the customer experience. But even when you don't have a channel partner transacting, you have other partners in there. You might have 3, 5, 7 partners surrounding the customer, And their experience is really that of the ecosystem that's delivering the solution that they're expecting a business outcome from. So that's why a partner experience, a compelling, well-managed partner experience is important, because ultimately it's what's going to create that customer experience that fuels your business.
100%.
Yeah, well said. And I appreciate the shameless plug there, Nancy, for Impartner, and how it can be that technology to help manage, right? So we've made a lot of platform enhancements to help with that collaboration. Historically, it was just a single deal registration with a reseller, and you have that vendor to reseller relationship and communication for kind of a co-sell approach. But now you have all the different partner types. So maybe there's the implementation partner, there's a consultant that you have involved, and so all those that come together and being able to collaborate from when the deal is beginning and all the way through, like you said, with the end goal of providing that world-class experience for the customer, and everybody working on the same team instead of in their own silos.
Perfect. Well, we have some examples too to talk about today. Norma, you want to?
So, sure, we can lead off with Braze. I mean, and this is one example, one anecdotal, case that we have seen so many, and particularly as companies are getting better at measuring the impact of their partner program and measuring it in a big way. And so Braze, as many people may already know, is a customer engagement platform, so relevant to what we've been talking about, and very fast-growing and successful SaaS company. You can see that 40% year-over-year growth, 118% retention. These are numbers that are very key to SaaS companies, but also driven through partners and partner experience. And what we found is what they're reporting on is their ecosystem accelerators, which, again, this should be compelling information for your CXOs, in that when a partner is in the deal, Braze isn't the only one recognizing these kind of results, but they're saying like twice the deal size, faster closes, better win rates, 25% partner sourced opportunities, better retention. All these things in which they measure at the top line the success of their company, of a SaaS organization, can be attributed to having a leveraged partner model.
Yeah. And they didn't start out that way. They started out with a direct model, and and the gentleman who leads their partner program came from direct sales originally. And you can see in a relatively short period of time, this is the transformation that has occurred with that executive sponsorship and that commitment.
Very cool.
The other point that I'd like to bring out, we have a similar example from SuccessFactors, but they also pointed out that their top sales reps, their top direct sales reps, were leveraging partners up to 80% more than the others, which meant they broke the code, boy. So instead of fighting with direct sales, link arms and make them successful.
Yeah. And bring it out in the open. It no longer has to be the best kept secret of the sales team that they're working with a partner to get into a customer.
Yeah, it does no harm to anybody else, right? It's only good.
That's right. So, Norma, you asked about Home Depot before, and I want to bring that up too. We have a couple other examples we wanted to talk about in the broader spectrum, from the standpoint of this isn't just tech, this is business, this is everybody.
But it's tech enabled. I think that's what's key too. These are customer opportunities.
Exactly. And it's the mindset as well. And, one of the great examples that was brought to my attention, Norma first told me about it, was Home Depot. And back in 2016, they started a division specifically that was built around the idea of ecosystem called Pro Referral. And you may see this, if you're a regular Home Depot user, you may be aware of it because it's been super successful. And basically, the premise is for their customers who need to know someone who knows how to install, whether it's a ceiling fan or fix an electrical socket or paint their house or even do service like clean the gutters, they can now turn to Home Depot. And Home Depot has is using technology, to your point, Norma. They're using the latest technology to match their customers both online and in store with local pros who can do the work. And so it has been incredibly successful. In fact, their pro sales outpaced their do-it-yourself sales. Again, they've been doing it quarter over quarter, but again in the third quarter, fiscal 2023, a pretty significant increase. And what they've talked about, what their CEO has talked about, is the fact that this is not something that they're going to abandon. They definitely want to continue to bring their partners, who are also their customers, right, directly with them. Their CEO is a guy named Ted Decker, and he said that they're going to continue to invest in an ecosystem of capabilities. And that includes enhanced fulfillment, more personalized experience, even if they're online, as well as better business management tools for them to drive that deeper engagement with their pro customers, who are the ones delivering the service. And they're seeing it resonate, and it's not just resonating with their numbers, but in the market as well. They were recently ranked. Their ranking rose 11.3% in the past 6 months, outpacing the industry's ranking of 7.4. So this is the power of ecosystem in the business space, driven by technology.
And I love their tagline, which is to sell the project, not the product, because that immediately gets everyone thinking ecosystem, because you're thinking about, putting on a new roof. What's all the stuff and services and providers you need to put on a new roof? You're thinking the whole project and not just a bucket of nails or, whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the hard data, like all those stats you're putting out there. Very compelling. So I appreciate you guys collecting all that, putting in the work to be able to dispel, so we can have solid numbers to go off of and make our arguments at each of our companies to really buy into and lean into the ecosystem approach. All right, we're running up on time, so I just wanted to turn over to any questions that people may have for those of you that are joining us live. I know a lot of people watch the recording afterward because it's hard to make a live show that everybody around the world can attend. But so if you have any question you would like to ask these ladies, please put it in the chat now. It looks like we do have one that showed up before. Let me see if I can pull that up on the screen here. There we go. All right, so what are some quick ways that partner managers ensure exceptional customer experiences when working through partners? Either one of you want to?
Well, I can answer that. What we found was the number one thing was training and enablement, in ensuring your partners are skilled, because in many cases what they're doing is they're selling expertise. It's maybe less about your product, but the expertise they have in how that product is used, how to implement it, how to get most value through it. So that was the number one thing, is not just technical enablement, but also sales enablement, being able to represent your brand with fidelity and with positive outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I think we are up on time, but I thank you so much for joining us. So Norma and Nancy, really appreciate your time and the information you gave us. We're definitely going to spread this out to everybody to watch the recording that might have missed this. But again, happy Valentine's Day, and thanks for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.